how the Sun was born, and how the Sun will disappear in the end. The Sun was born, lives, and will eventually disappear as a result of natural processes governed by the laws of physics and stellar evolution. Here's a brief overview of these stages. 1. Formation. Birth. The Sun formed about 4.6 billion years ago from a rotating cloud of gas and dust called a solar nebula. As gravity caused the nebula to collapse, its material clumped together, forming a protostar at the center. As the protostar continued to gather mass, its core became denser and hotter. Eventually, the temperature and pressure became high enough for nuclear fusion to begin, marking the birth of the Sun as a main sequence star. 2. Main sequence. Life. The Sun is currently in its main sequence phase, which is characterized by the stable fusion of hydrogen into helium in its core. This process releases a tremendous amount of energy in the form of light and heat, which supports life on Earth. The Sun has been in this phase for approximately 4.6 billion years, and is expected to remain in it for another 5 billion years or so. 3. Red giant. Expansion. As the Sun exhausts its hydrogen fuel, its core will contract, and the outer layers will expand. This will cause the Sun to become a red giant. During this phase, the Sun's outer envelope will grow so large that it may engulf the inner planets, including Earth. This stage will last for around 1 to 2 billion years. 4. Planetary nebula and white dwarf. Disappearance. After the red giant phase, the Sun will shed its outer layers, forming a cloud of gas called a planetary nebula. The remaining core, now primarily composed of carbon and oxygen, will no longer have the pressure and temperature needed for nuclear fusion. It will become a white dwarf, which is a dense, cooling remnant of the star. Over billions of years, the white dwarf will gradually cool and fade, eventually becoming a cold, dark object known as a black dwarf. However, this process takes longer than the current age of the universe, so no black dwarfs are believed to exist yet. In summary, the Sun was born from a collapsing solar nebula about 4.6 billion years ago. It has been in its main sequence phase ever since, and will remain so for another 5 billion years. Afterward, the Sun will expand into a red giant, shedding its outer layers and forming a planetary nebula, leaving behind a white dwarf. This white dwarf will slowly cool over time, eventually becoming a black dwarf.